What's up, Pirates? It's Dennis from Super Pirate Pros, and we're bringing you today the Rebecca deck profile that's been long awaited because we've not even done one yet. Even though she's it's been a couple months now that she's been out. But yeah, one of my favorite leaders for sure. She's the one that can't attack, but she lets you get to draw. She draws cards every damn turn you want, so for just resting one down, so obviously a really great effect. And of course, the whole theme of Dressrosa behind her is super good too. So let's see what the lovely Gladiator Princess of Dressrosa can do. Right into it, we got 4 of our Searcher. This is Rebecca. Look at 3 cards and trash the rest. This whole deck's all about trashing cards, so you have a big trash pile and then you get to utilize it later for many effects. So of course you need 4 of the Searcher. You're going to want 4 of Gates, Gayats, G-Yats, however you say this man's name. Just a 2k counter. I never play him, but in certain situations it's possible to play him for the fact that you're going to make something hit an active, so in certain crazy situations that's possible. We have Little Leo. I'm playing 3 because Law and Zoro are not really in the format at the moment, and this was really especially good against them, so I dropped it from 4 to 3 and KO a guy at 1 cost. That's all he does, and then you trash him. But what he does is that he rests your leader. That's why I don't like him too much, because your leader needs to stand up so that your Kairos is more effective. And then I put in 2 Idios, just a blocker, 2k power, and the counter of 1k. And the star of the show. This is how I'm beating Katakuri decks. Currently, I think it's the best card against them. It's Kairos, because they cannot get this thing off the board. And they usually don't want to spend an 8-cost Katakuri effect just to put him on your life. You know, it's not cost effective for them. But anyways, the one that's very hard to get off the board, because you get to rest your stage and your leader just to have him not get KO'd. And then of course the on-play effect of KOing something. So this deck is another, because it's black colored, it specializes in KOing cards. 4 of Bartolomeo. This is another blocker. It's good for throwing when you have an emergency and you're just throwing blockers like all of a sudden. And then 2k from the hand. Probably one of the best blockers in the game because of the fact that he's as well a 2k in the hand. Up next, we got Tashigi. This is another 2k. She has a bit of an effect if you want to play her sometimes, to give an opponent's character -2 cost by resting her. And then when she is rested, she'll act as a blocker because your opponent will have to attack her or else she's going to do it again. And people don't really want that to happen. Here's the card that I'm playing that not many people are, that I've noticed, and it's Suleiman. Suleiman is really good because on play and when attacking, you get to do the effect a lot, and it's giving opponent's character -2 cost for the turn. Then trash a card from the top deck. So it increases your trash pile, and then it also reduces the cost of an opponent. So this thing is just as good as Orlumbus in my opinion, except Orlumbus is -4, this guy is -2. But this comes up so often because there's so many KOing effects, so you can have him on board, combine him with Kairos the following turn, or with Little Leon, if they are played before him. And then, no, he gets played before, then Leon is played, then Kairos is played. That's how the combos go, or your 3000 Worlds, or other KOing cards. Up next, the one I mentioned is Orlumbus Columbus. This is the guy that's -4 to an opponent's character. Just once per turn, you can do it whenever you want and trash 2 cards on the top of your deck. But you gotta KO one of your Dressrosa type characters. So usually you try to KO Kairos because Kairos can just eat the effect and then rest your leader or your stage so that he won't die. If not, you can trash your Leon because Leon won't be attacking ever again. Or Leon doesn't attack at all because he's 2k. You can trash your Rebecca Searcher when she's on board as well. That's the other things you can trash for Orlumbus Columbus. Up next, we're going to max out on our Sabos. Sabo is, of course, the one that will fix your hand by drawing 2, trashing 2 on play. And then he's a nice blocker with a good stat line. Oh, and of course, the other effect where your cards are not KO'd by effects until the start of your next turn. And since a lot of people can't read, this comes in clutch to some players because they'll forget that fact and then they'll try to KO something and then whoops, they wasted their effector card or whatever. So, love me the Sabos. Here comes some one-ofs. I'm playing 1 Cavendish. Cabbage over here is decent because he attacks the active characters. And with the Dressrosa Coliseum card, it can be a rush into an active character. It's pretty nasty. And then when attacking, you rest your leader to just KO another guy that costs 1 or less. And then trash more from the life, from your deck. We don't want to trash life here, do we? Monkey D. Garp, I'm playing 1 of him. This is the guy that just trashes a card from your hand and then you rest him to KO an opponent's character with a cost of 4 or less. This guy's pretty damn good because he does the effect instantly and then he's rested. And he's also 6k stat line, so he's easy to defend with your counters in your hand or whatever else you have. And it's every single turn. And I chose one of him because there's so many cards that end up getting stuck in your hand. For example, multiple Dressrosas, or if you draw too many Luffys, this is a great card to begin fixing your hand up, because you don't need so many cards in your hand because the deck has such draw advantage from the leader. So the leader, matches very well with Carp. Up next, this guy's Monkey D. Luffy. He is your win condition, to be honest. If you don't see him, it's very hard to end up winning in this game. So he attacks actives, and then you activate main, you could return 7 from your trash to the bottom, and then you restand him. So, well, when you do that, he will not restand on the next refresh phase. So he's going to be winning you the games. You put him with Kong, Gun, Pistol, the event card I'll show you in a bit. But this is the guy that's going to win you the games because he can attack twice. And another thing people forget is that you can restand him on the following turn, even though you skip the refresh standing. You just need to have another 7 cards in your trash to do that. So Monkey D. Luffy have 4 because you want to see him at some point in the game to win the game. Another one of the 10-drop Kuzan. Very nice boss card. He gives all opponents -5 cost, and on play he kills something with cost of 0. So that's most likely going to be something. And it can be something as huge as already costing 5. And again, Kuzan gets played after a card like Solomon. Then Solomon can reduce the cost of a guy, and then Kuzan comes in KOing something that literally has cost about 7. So pretty nasty there. Only 1. And then another one boss card is Kaido, because I always like mixing up the boss cards because it leaves you a lot more plays that you can possibly do, and then your opponent can never really read you. They can't be like, okay, here comes the Kuzan, or okay, here comes the Kaido. They just aren't going to know what's going to come, so they won't be able to prepare or leave a board state that they prefer you to hit. So that's why I like multiple boss cards. This is the one that bounces the guy that's 8 cost or less, and one that's 3 or less to the hand on play, and then with a massive stat line for the following turn to be going for game with. So one of him, one of Kuzan, for the reason of mixing up your boss cards. I just think that's very effective to do. And again, you have Solomon that can be reducing the cost, or Olympus if they're already on the board before these big dudes. You got to be knocking out or putting cards to hand that cost way more than they actually have on their effects. Next up, I've got one of the 6 King Pistol, only because your deck has so many repeated cards. Like, for example, if you open a hand with about 3 or 4 Luffys, you should really discard them with this. It's not that bad of a deal. And then the Colosseum is another one you can discard for this. And a crazy little trigger, if it's possible. Up next, the Colosseum card I've been talking about for a while. It's the one that gives all your characters rush. All your Dressrosa type characters, which is 95% of the characters here. So I put it at 3 because it's so easily searchable. You don't need to play 4 that's seeing it a little too much, because you have your Rebecca leader that can get it and your Rebecca searching character that can get it. So that's why 3 is fine. You'll pretty much see it enough with that. Up next, we're playing 2 of Gum Gum King Kong Gun. The one that gives you 6,000 power to a Dressrosa guy. And then if you got 15 or more cards in the trash, it gains double attack for the turn, giving it 2 damage. So pretty much this is going to annihilate your opponent when it does happen. And your trash gets very big by the time you're ready to play this regardless. So a good card to play it at 2. It's another win con. You put that with Luffy, you put that at the end of the game, you're pretty much winning. Or you can do that in the middle of the game just to KO a very powerful character you want to get rid of. Up next, we're going with 2 of the 3,000 Worlds. I don't play Red Rock in this deck because it costs 6 down and you reduce the cost of so many guys that you don't need to be paying that much to do stuff. This thing, bottom decks of 5 cost or less. You have Arlumbus, you have Solomon, you have many cards that'll reduce the cost of cards, so you don't need to be doing any of that extra stuff. And of course the 10-drop Kuzan, that's just godlike if you play this after your 10-drop Kuzan. So 2 of that. Last card in the list is my Treno Bastardo. This is the one that main, you choose up to one of your opponent's cards with cost of 4 less and KO it. But if you got 15 or more in your trash, it becomes a 6 cost or less. So that's why it's a little bit better than 3,000 Worlds, because your trash is always huge anyway. So you're basically going to KO a 6 cost instead of this that stops you at 5. But we have our cost reducers in the deck as well. You have Tashigi, Solomon, the Kuzan, and Olympus. So you have many cards that'll make this thing a lot more better. So that's the full deck profile. Let me neaten it up so you can see the ratios a little bit better. So here we have it, all 50 of the cards for the deck profile. In the glare is going to be the Kuzan and Tashigi if you can't see that. And Treno Bastardo is covering 16 Pistol and the Colosseum card. But this is all of it. It's a very fun deck to play. I've been doing well with it in locals. I've actually been defeating Katakuri players, which is pretty hard to do. And my key is play Kairos. That's the best thing you can do against them. And board control with Olympus, because none of their characters are ever protected by anything. They do spam a lot of triggers. And yeah, the decks that aren't in the format anymore that this deck used to be super good against was Law and Zoro. Were almost nearly free wins in my opinion because it's just a bunch of KOing power. And they cannot flood the board like they would want. But the only things I would change from this deck would be honestly, I wouldn't add anything that's outside. I would probably switch maybe Cavendish and Garp. If you like Garp more, I say take out a Cavendish for a Garp. Or if you don't like Garp, take out him for the Cabbage. And that's pretty much it. Nothing else here that I would really change. I think it works perfectly. You have an answer to almost everything in this deck. But I hope you try it out. And I know it's going to get better in the next set too. So I'll do a deck blower for that when that comes out. And thanks for watching. Peace.